Today's Bible story is the story of David and Goliath. Sometimes we are faced with a problem that we think is too big for us. It can make us worried and upset, and we think it will never go away. I wonder if you've ever felt like that. I know I have. What, you too, Francis John? You've something that's making you feel like your tummy has got lots of worms inside and you haven't been able to sleep, but you don't think anybody can help? Oh, that's sad. Well, maybe today's Bible story will help. In today's story, we hear all about how God helped someone who was very small tackle a problem that everyone else thought was too big for him. But God showed the people that he is bigger than anything that we have to face. So today's story is the story of David and Goliath. David was small. David was a shepherd. David had a shepherd's staff, bag and sling. David's job was to look after his father's sheep. David's brothers were soldiers in the Israelite army. Goliath was big. Goliath was a trained soldier. Goliath had a sword and huge spear. Goliath was leader of the Philistine army. The Philistines hated God's people, the Israelites. Every day Goliath challenged God's people, the Israelites, to send a man to try and kill him. If that man won, the Philistines would be their servants. But if Goliath won, then God's people would have to serve them. God's people, the Israelites, were scared of Goliath. No one wanted to fight him. One day, David went to visit his brothers in the army. He heard Goliath challenge God's people, the Israelites. David was small. Goliath was big. But David knew that God was even bigger. David went to see King Saul, the king of God's people, the Israelites, and told him that he wanted to fight Goliath. King Saul told David that he was only a boy and not a trained soldier like Goliath. David told King Saul that God had helped him to face big problems like a lion attacking his father's sheep, and he knew that God would help him now. King Saul gave David permission to fight Goliath. "Go, and may God go with you," he said. He also gave David his armour to wear. The armour was too big for David, so he took it off. David picked up his shepherd's staff, bag and sling. He went down to the river and chose 5 smooth stones and put them into his bag. Then he went to face Goliath. David was small. Goliath was big. But David knew that God was even bigger. Goliath was big. Goliath was a trained soldier. Goliath had a sword and huge spear. Goliath laughed when he saw David. David was small. David was a shepherd. David had a shepherd's staff, bag and sling. David said to Goliath, "You come before me with a sword and a spear, but I come before you in the name of God." David took a stone out of his bag, put it into his sling, and whirled the stone around. The stone flew out of the sling and struck Goliath on his forehead. Goliath fell down dead. All the people of Israel cheered. All the Philistines ran away. David was small. Goliath was big. But God was even bigger. In our Bible story, we heard how David trusted God to help him solve a big problem. I don't think we'll be ever called on to fight giants like Goliath, but sometimes we face problems that can seem just as big and frightening. Just as God helped David, then God will help us as we ask him. You may like to close your eyes and think about a problem you would like help with. I'm going to say a prayer. And if you would like to make it your prayer too, you may like to say Amen at the end after me. Dear God, when my problems seem very big, help me to remember that you are here with me and that you are even bigger. Amen. What's that, Francis John? You think can tell me about what is worrying you now? That's good, because I think it's very important to share what is worrying us. Thank you for trusting me. Well, thank you for joining us for the story of David and Goliath, and I look forward to you joining us again soon. Goodbye.